Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to jump into this development that we had at the end of Chapter 16 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, which is the moment where we see Sarada as a part of the team in the Sand Village, heading out to assist the Sand Shinobi as they navigate the Land of Wind on their mission to track down Gaara's location. I want to discuss why the battle of Sarada versus Matsuri is one of the most important moments that we'll have in this story that you might have considered or might not have considered, why it's more important than you think, and why the fights that are looming up ahead have the potential to seriously shake up the story in major ways. Also, as a quick reminder, the chapter review should be up on the channel by the time you guys are seeing this. I've touched base with the editor, and I do think that we're going to be able to get the chapter up on the 20th. We got the leaks a little late this month, so if the chapter's up, make sure to watch it if you haven't already. So if you have Sarada versus Matsuri on your bingo card for 2024 as terms of being one of the plot twists in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, congratulations, you my friend. You are a great prognosticator. I can't even hold you. We've done a bunch of discussions here on the channel, making the case for stuff like why Himawari, it makes sense for her to go to the Sand Village, or what the impact might be if Ino snitches on Shikamaru. But this one right here, Sarada versus Matsuri, is not one that has ever crossed my mind, to be honest with you. There's not a stance that I won't take for the sake of discussion. Yet this was something I never even considered. Based off of the reaction from the chapter leaks, it looks like I'm not the only one who was caught off guard by this matchup that we are potentially getting. It looks like a lot of you guys were in the same camp. Most of us, we were just focused on the idea of Konohamaru versus Matsuri for obvious reasons. Matsuri had singled out Konohamaru as someone that she wanted to eat and that was going to be her target. It was a classic example of subverting expectations, and to be honest, it was a subversion that I think many of us would be in agreement is a very welcome one, because it's one of those plot twists that you didn't expect to come, but it is a welcome addition. So far in 2 Blue Vortex, we've seen Kawaki attempt to fight against Jura, but as we all know, that resulted in Kawaki getting the crust knocked off of his chappy lips and it left him unconscious, and we saw him attempt to fight Boruto only for Boruto to leave the guy struggling to get back to his feet, despite Boruto clearly holding back when he did so. We saw Ko get bullied by Boruto, then get bullied by Ryu, and then get bullied again by Jura to a point where he even lost the arm for even stepping towards him. We saw Himawari fight against Jura and showcase how strong she had gotten since the time skip, in addition to the power of Kurama inside of her. We even got to see Konohamaru and Mitsuki showcase some of their growth with surprising results. Konohamaru helping with Hidari and Mitsuki when he was going up against Boruto. Matsuri and Sarada, they represent two relative question marks because each of them are characters who we've seen a bit in terms of brief encounters, but not enough to fully silence all of their doubters. Matsuri was able to trap Boruto with her Earth Release Jutsu, and you had people downplaying it, saying that Boruto was off guard, which technically he was. I don't dispute that. It's also important to note, though, you are kind of downplaying Matsuri here, because it doesn't matter that Boruto was off guard, because Boruto's hands, they were still free. If he needed to break out of that jutsu, he could have done what he had done before, which is use Lightning Release, and Lightning Release has the change in chakra nature advantage over Earth Release. The fact that Boruto didn't even attempt to break out, it says a lot about the power of the attack that he was hit with, because he had time before Kashin Koji was ordering him to retreat. Boruto was still weighing his options on what to do, and at that point in time, Boruto was outnumbered, so context does matter, but the lack of Lightning Release to immediately break this jutsu and put distance between himself and Matsuri, it is telling, because at that point in time, he's begging Code to help him. With Sarada, you have the issue of technically she's had more battle experience post time skip than Matsuri, but people are more willing to accept any scaling arguments for Matsuri than they are for Sarada. We saw her take out multiple base claw grinds on her own without any issues. We saw her in the battle with Hidari do relatively well in both of those skirmishes. She was off guarded by Hidari and was still able to see his attack coming, cut on her Sharingan, dodge the attack, weave the hand signs for the Chidori, and land her own counter strike. People try to downplay it by saying that her doing that was because solely of the Eye of Insight, but the thing is that the Eye of Insight is irrelevant if you go back to what was pre-established in Naruto's story. Being able to see an attack coming with that Eye of Insight, that is something that allows you to do, including chart out the path of the attack itself. That saves Sasuke's skin against the 4th Raikage. Had he not had the Eye of Insight, Sasuke's head would have been knocked off. It is precognition. However, that precognition, it means nothing if your body's too slow to react to the attack that is coming. We saw that multiple times in Naruto, and it does not matter if you have a 2-tomo, a 3-tomo, or 1-tomo. If the gap in power is too large, the precognition, it cannot keep up. Case in point, Itachi multiple times was weaving hand signs so fast that both Kakashi's 3-tomo Sharingan and Sasuke's 3-tomo Sharingan could not keep up with the speed itself. They were struggling despite Kakashi and Sasuke having had years of training with their Sharingan. We've seen Sharingan users get tagged with taijutsu attacks before because precognition, it means nothing if your body is not physically fast enough to react. Sarada isn't landing that hit on Hidari, even with the Chidori's weakness of tunnel vision, if her own speed is not comparable to Hidari's, because of the close proximity at which he was hitting her with it, and the fact that she was off guarded when he tried it. Her Chidori stream, it is not damaging Hidari, making him experience noticeable discomfort by the attack to the point he loosens his grip out of response to the pain that he is actively feeling while he is actively focused on capturing her, unless the attack she hit him with was somewhat relative. Does not mean she's as strong as Hidari, just means that she is relative enough to him to do damage to him when he's on guard. I know the Sarada discourse, it makes people really uncomfortable because it means that you got to start upscaling characters, particularly Sarada, who is running the same issue that her mom has, where it does not matter what statements you have, what primary sources say. If Sakura walks up and she punches the ground hard enough that the earth splits, you're going to have people that say she just happened to hit the earth on the right angle where it tilted at the softest possible spot on the planet where there was already a crack, and it was a byproduct of an asteroid hitting 1,000 years ago, and whatever mental loopholes that people jump through in order to justify the pre-established tier that they want to place her character in. Sarada is in that spot, in my opinion. If Ishiki got revived and say Sarada were to body Ishiki in a fight, or say she fought someone who was stated to be as strong as Ishiki and she fought them to a stalemate, those same people, they would push back against it and say some of the same outrageous things like, well, whoever it is she's fighting, they had a stomach ache and they run at full power, because there's this refusal to believe that Sarada's character can be this strong. It's because both of these women, or to be technical, a woman in Matsuri and a teenage girl in Sarada, they haven't had the battles that would outright cement them, even though one has statements in her favor like Matsuri and cross-scaling from her peers in the form of Mamushi being strong enough to push base Boruto, given Bug is likely weaker than Moegi, and all the Shinju are stronger than their originals, and they're implied to be relative to each other. But I digress with Matsuri. In the same case of Sarada, you have the prior mentioned information. Both of these characters are mixing it up as a chance to show you more character data that you can use if they do fight. The idea of having two female characters have a pretty extensive fight is also something that I look forward to seeing. Being honest, the Naruto franchise has not been necessarily the kindest when it comes to female characters fighting. We've come a long way from the days of Ino versus Sakura, which was so bad that characters in universe are basically saying in so many words their taijutsu was barely passable for gaining level combat. But now we have high level females potentially about to go at it right now, and this is something I look forward to seeing. Like, I love Tsunade. She's one of my favorite Naruto characters. I love that we saw some of what she could do in the Madara fight, but it was all in snapshots. Concrete scaling information to put her over the 4th Raikage in strength, but it's only a snapshot. I love seeing Hinata run at pain, even though she had no chance of winning and she didn't land a hit in the manga, didn't even get close to landing a hit in the manga. She just went twirly twirl. Kaguya was super overpowered, but Kaguya, to be blunt, was a boring fighter to see. I, to this day, pretend When I read Naruto's manga, volume 71 never happened. We have a chance right now to see these two characters go at it with a level of ferocious intent. We haven't seen a female character in a Naruto fight since the days of Naruto versus Delta, where in the taijutsu department, Delta pushed Naruto to a point of exhaustion in taijutsu where he was struggling to catch his breath when they're throwing hands. Though kudos to Naruto for that big brain move to overload her ninja tech with chakra by holding back on the Rasengan enough to not destroy her. If we get a taijutsu fight like that with these two, this could be something very memorable. Shinju, they have their chakra natures of their originals. We've seen that. Matsuri would be able to have water release and earth release because that's what Moegi had. Sarada has fire release, which is weak against water release, but she has lightning release, which is strong against earth release. The conditions and the combinations that you could have with these two mixing it up, it would be something pretty cool to see. The chess game of going back and forth as the combat is raging on, it would make the fight way more enjoyable. This battle, assuming we get it like it looks like we're about to have happen, it represents something that could allow the females in universe to take a step forward and start getting some respect in their names, which longtime viewers of the channel know my biggest soft spot are well-written as well as strong female characters in the physical sense. Think back to all of the iconic fights in Naruto. How many of those fights, if you were to name the top 10 fights in the entire Naruto franchise, how many of them have a woman involved? You put a pistol to my head, I'd have to get down to number 15 before I could get to a fight where the women are involved, and that's me taking out my bias for Tsunade, because I to this day still think that the legendary Sannin 3-way deadlock battle is one of the 5 best fights in part 1 of Naruto, which I know that's a hot take, but you get the point. This is a franchise that has not been kind to female fighters. You have a chance now to turn that around. Even if it's Sarada and Yodo teaming up against Matsuri, I want it to be a clean one-on-one or a 2-on-1 fight with just the females where Yodo's joining in. I don't expect it, however, to be a one-on-one just because when you look at Naruto's manga, most of the fights, they're people ganging up on their enemy for the fight itself. Because a key aspect of battles and the story in general of Naruto is teamwork. I'm just hoping against hope that we get an extended battle sequence where it's just Sarada for an extended bit, but I still do believe that teamwork will be very heavily prevalent in the fight because that's traditionally how things have always been in Naruto. For every Naruto versus Pain and Sasuke versus Itachi, you had quite a few battles where it was teamwork involved, where it started out as a 1 versus 1, and then very quickly it was everybody jump on the enemy to get an edge in victory. Ikimoto, he has a chance right now to do something really great if he has the balls to do it. And I do hope that we see him giving the females on this mission a chance to shine before we inevitably get the teamwork aspect, and likely we have Super Boruto stepping in because of how dangerously close we are to Boruto and Koji's hideout. I am curious to know where you guys stand on that though. How do you want this to play out? Reminder, if you're seeing this video on the 20th, that means the chapter review is still being worked on, so I thank you for your patience, and if the review is up, you'll see that link here on the left side of the screen to check out the review if you haven't already, or you can click here to watch my new Black Clover chapter review for the last 3 chapters of Black Clover that just dropped a few days ago.